No doubt. And Pete, let's talk about Manchester City. There are rumors, and Pep has even kind of rumored this, that there are some funds available for one or two signings in January. Not something we usually hear clubs kind of say or have those rumors spread. Who's at the top of that list? What positions? Is this just to fill in for Rodri's injury?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a central midfielder will be the top priority for Manchester City. Rodri, as we know, huge loss for them, and that's, I think, it's been evident in the recent results for Man City. They just seem to be lacking that control in midfield, which obviously Rodri gives you. He protects the defence, and he also is very good at starting attacks as well for City. Kovacic, to be fair to him, I think he did quite well originally in midfield when he started the season, but again, I'm not sure in the big games if he is the right man to be playing that holding midfield role. So I think Pep ideally would like to add some more cover in midfield. There's been talk of Zubimendi, who was very strongly linked with the move to Liverpool in the summer, but decided to stay at Real Sociedad. Whether Manchester City would have more luck than Liverpool and able to persuade the Spain internationals to move to the Premier League, that remains to be seen. There's also been other links as well with Ederson from Atalanta, Samuel Ricci from Torino as well, or a couple of other names on the list. So yeah, there's no doubt there will be money made available for Pep if he wants it in the January window. I think ideally he would prefer not to spend then. He would prefer to do his business in the summer. But if the injuries continue to pile up for Manchester City, he might have no other option but to be forced into the transfer market to sort of strengthen the squad and bring in at least one new signing.
Paul, Jack Grealish is a name we talk about all the time in the last 18 months or so in terms of his lack of playing time for Manchester City. Could he be on his way out the door this season, whether it be January or the summer, with just 2 years left on his deal come this summer and only making 6 starts in all competitions so far this year?
I think you'll see him play a lot more between now and the end of the season. Obviously, with Rodri missing, it's been put under strain. Pep plays the media very well, and he talks about his injuries and the players that he's not got available. But he doesn't talk about the players that he has got available to him. He's got a lot, he's got a squad of in-depth quality there. And I think there's just a lot of media talk around Manchester City at the moment, because for the first time in a long time, they've lost 3 in a row in all competitions. But when you actually analyse it, it was a game against Tottenham where in the Carabao Cup, where Pep quite obviously, quite openly said that it wasn't his priority, he was going to change the team up. It was an away defeat to Sporting, which was probably more alarming. But actually in all of this, they've only lost 1 game in the Premier League. 1 defeat in the Premier League. So regarding Jack Grealish, he will play. I don't think there's going to be. I think he's got a relationship with the manager. I think there's a mutual respect there. Whether he plays, Doku plays, but you look at the quality that they've got. And I think if this injury spell that Pep tells us about is anything to go by, he's not going to be willing to let players leave. And I can't see players being in a rush to leave Manchester City. I mean, Europe, one of the biggest clubs in the world at the moment, challenging for the Champions League, challenging for the Premier League. Why would you be in a rush to leave there? And you look at his stats at the end of the season, you look at the amount of games that they play. We say these players don't play a lot of games. You look at the stats and how many games that they've played by the end of the season, you're at 25, 30 games because of the amount of games and competitions that these clubs are in. So, in answer to your question, without beating around the bush and going around the houses, no, I don't think he goes this season. I don't think there's an option for him to want to go. I don't think there's willing from either side, either party, club or player, that they should part ways. And I don't see there's a reason that they should.
And Pete, Omar Marmoush is a name that we've been talking about now for a few months, and it feels like every couple of weeks it goes from a mid-table club to a higher mid-table club, and now Manchester City being linked with Omar Marmoush. He's 25 years old, 12 goals and 9 assists in 14 appearances this season. Would they consider a move for him to the Etihad, even if Erling Haaland stays another year or two?
You would imagine Marmoush is appearing on the radar of a number of top clubs now. As you said, his goal scoring record in Germany this season has been outstanding. As you said, 21 goal contributions in 14 games is a great record by anybody's sort of going. I think he's outscoring Harry Kane at the minute in the Bundesliga as well. So yeah, he's flying at the minute, the Egyptian international. No surprise that he's being linked with other clubs. Liverpool were the first club to be really linked with Marmoush as a possible replacement if Mohamed Salah was to leave Anfield this next summer and when his contract expires. But yeah, I'm sure Marmoush himself, he's having a great time at Eintracht Frankfurt right now. He'll want to come to a team where he's probably going to be playing, and at Manchester City there's no guarantee of that when you've got Erling Haaland in front of you. But I'm sure if the opportunity came around and Manchester City were to follow up any interest in him, it would be attractive for the player, because I'm sure the player would love the opportunity to join a big club which is competing for honours, competing for trophies, which Manchester City always are, and the chance to play in England as well would also be attractive for him. But it's going to be a real hard deal to do. I don't think Frankfurt will want to lose Marmoush in January, and I think come the summer there'll be a lot of other rival clubs ready to make a move for the Egyptian, who probably around 50 to 60 million pound mark right now due to his goal scoring feats. He's going to be an expensive buy for anybody.
And Paul, Stefan Ortega, who's potentially one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, who almost never gets to play, could he be getting fed up sitting behind Ederson and potentially force a move to Bayer Leverkusen this summer? He'll only have 1 year left on his contract at that point, and he's made just 4 appearances this season, none of which are in the league.
Yeah, but he knows his role at Manchester City. As a number 2 goalkeeper, you know your role, you know what you're getting into. And it's a role that he's been quite happy with. I know that he's very, very highly thought of at Manchester City, among the players, among the staff. He's a very good goalkeeper, and he could quite easily move on and be a number 1 somewhere else. But that's the thing with the top teams; they have to carry 2 number 1 goalkeepers, and it's down to his personal, what he wants for himself, his personal aims, his personal goals, whether he wants to play football every week or he's quite happy with his lot at Manchester City. But listen, let's not forget, we're only sat here a few weeks ago talking about Ederson moving from Manchester City and Ederson potentially moving to the Saudi Pro League. So there's a lot of, as a number 2 goalkeeper, it's difficult because you sit there biding your time, and if you jump ship too quickly, your opportunity might have come around 6 months around the corner when the number 1 leaves. So it's obviously a conversation that I'll be having with the manager, with Pep, as, look, if Ederson does go, if and when he goes, am I going to be, or am I in contention to be your number 1? Nobody's got a given right to be number 1. The manager will always turn around to you and say, listen, you've got a chance of playing, you've got every chance of being my number 1. But if Ederson leaves and they go and spend 50, 60 million pounds on another goalkeeper, then that pretty much tells you, in the same way that Liverpool have done with Mamardashvili and Kieran Kelleher. He's been sat there waiting. He's got his opportunity this year because of an injury to Alisson. But long term, it doesn't look like it's going to be his future is going to lie at Liverpool. And in a similar way, Ortega's in exactly the same situation at Manchester City. It's going to be down to his own will and desire as to whether he wants to play football every week or he's happy with his lot and he understands his job. If he is, if Ederson does move on, then he gets an opportunity to maybe fight for that number 1 jersey with maybe a goalkeeper that he pairs himself off against and thinks, look, I've got a chance of being number 1. I'm not just going to accept being a number 2 to somebody like Ederson.